Okay, welcome everyone. Call this meeting of the Polk County Board of Commissioners to order. Today is March 8th. Commissioner Polk has been excused. Any comments for items not on this agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a motion to approve the minutes for March 1st.
So move.
Second, all those in favor?
Please say aye.
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 Thank you. And we have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Also move.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hello. Okay, next up we have Amber Kramer and Brent DeMoe from Family Community Outreach to talk about the rural Polk County point in time count and connect events. Welcome. Thanks for coming on such short notice.
I had a whole stack of them right here.
Good.
I took all those items away from you. You can just talk. I know it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just here to look good.
Oh.
This was, I just want to say that Amber, in addition to all of her regular duties, she took on the point in time count in Polk County and did a fabulous job. Just to steal a little bit of her thunder on the data, 3 years ago, when the point in time count was done by the COC, they counted 4 total homeless people in rural Polk County. Last year, they counted 25. And with the methodology that Amber's going to explain today, that we as a department and a few other community partners did, the unsheltered count in Polk County is 91. So we'll get a little bit into, was there a huge jump in homelessness or was it the methodology? And we'll just quickly run through, tell you some of the data and facts that we found. And then I have a few other things I want to share with you related to the other data we're capturing on these same individuals.
Yeah. So during the last week of January this year, January 2023, we asked people where they slept on the night of January 23rd, 2023, which is the question that is the federally required question when conducting the point in time count. We created a survey unique to rural Polk County to match the HUD required questions, but to also allow us to continue the survey beyond that required question. We asked questions that were important to individual communities in rural Polk County, like, do you already have connections to the community you're sleeping in? This really allowed us to collect more robust data this year. And when we created this survey, we knew that we couldn't just go out and find people sleeping on the streets, because we know that rural Polk County doesn't look like how it looks in downtown Salem or Portland or other places. So we got creative. We used 4 different methods to conduct the survey. Our first method was the Community Connect outreach event, which was really successful. We had over 290 people attend that day, with over 45 social service agencies providing services like haircuts, food, OHP applications, SNAP benefit applications on site that day. So people left with tangible resources. And then as an entry point to the Community Connect, everybody was asked, where did you sleep last night? The event was held on January 24th. If somebody slept in someplace other than a home that they rent or own, and they did not have a current eviction, they had a current eviction notice, good morning, they were invited to complete the rest of the survey with volunteers that day. We collected, I believe, over 70 complete surveys that day alone. The other methodology we used, we connected with some community partners like local food banks, school districts, warming shelters, local businesses, churches, Polk County Health Services, and Polk County Community Corrections to complete the survey with people that they were already working with. We offered several trainings unique to those sites so that they could offer the survey in a trauma-informed way. But it just really made the most sense because they already had developed relationships with people who are experiencing homelessness, and so that they could have that complete the survey in a conversational way. We also attended several community events, including the Fall City produce distribution, the food distribution out in Grand Ronde, the Tuesday food distribution in Independence, where we offered grab and go snacks, warming items, hygiene supplies. And again, we were able to offer that survey in a conversational way where we met people where they were at. And then finally, we did use the traditional methodology of street and camp outreach. We had several groups of volunteers walking around and talking with people in Grand Ronde, Willamina, Independence, Monmouth, Dallas, and Fall City, walking around and talking with people who were potentially experiencing homelessness. And we also drove around isolated areas of Polk County and located some small camps. And when we talked to anybody in these areas, we were offering coffee, donuts, warming supplies, and not just walking up and saying, hey, we want to ask you about how homeless you are. Through all of this, we were able to conduct surveys with 180 people experiencing homelessness or who were at risk of homelessness. 91 of those were unsheltered. 43 were sheltered and 46 were identified as at risk of being homeless. So the at-risk population maybe had a current eviction notice. They felt unsafe in their current home, and that's what that looked like. Of the unsheltered people that we talked to, 43% were chronically homeless, meaning that they have been homeless either more than once in their lifetime or for longer than a year. And 48% of those unsheltered reported that their mental health impacts their ability to maintain stable employment or housing, which I thought was a really big deal.
Some of the other things that we wanted to talk about, when Amber said we came up with our own methodology in Polk County, the old way of doing this, or how the rest of the world does it, is you download an app on your phone called Counting Us. It's the HUD required app. And when you get to a question like, I'm interviewing Jeremy and I asked him if he was sheltered on this particular night, if he said he was, the questions are over.
Mm-hmm.
But he may have just happened to had a free hotel voucher that night or something else, and he is chronically homeless. There would be no data on him ever. And so we didn't use their app. We mirrored their app with something that Amber created, so we can ask Jeremy every question and have comprehensive data. And then we later entered things into the federally required app the way that they want it. And if somebody said that they were sheltered that night, they didn't get counted with HUD, but they got counted in our data.
So we would have missed about half of the folks that you surveyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 91 is still 91 unsheltered, what HUD counts as unsheltered homeless. But there's definitely more than that in Polk County. I think the other thing that's important is there probably was a jump in the last few years in the amount of homeless in Polk County due to COVID and other things, but we don't think that the jump truly was from 25 to 91 in 12 months. It was just that we did a much better job owning the point in time count ourselves and just doing a different method. In other areas, they train volunteers who have never worked with this population, who go out in 4-hour shifts and just try to find people and talk to them. We already know that code enforcement, law enforcement, and other departments in the county and other community partners, they talk with at-risk and homeless folks all the time. So we just trained them to do the survey themselves where there was more trust. One of the other things why this data is important and why we now have our own database of every single person that Amber and her team talked to is we're able to take that list and share it with other partners and start to get the most comprehensive picture on who these folks are and where they're at in any type of continuum of service. So that list was given to community corrections, and they were able to compare of the 500 people that are on parole or probation here in this county. There were many of those 132 who have said to their probation officer that they are homeless. The point in time count captured some of those folks too. That data was also given to behavioral health, and they're able to tell us, 40 people have chronic mental health and they're seeking treatment through behavioral health. 32 of those people have both mental health and substance use disorders. An additional 10 are just seeking treatment for substance abuse. So we're able to put together, and that's the beginning of the kind of data that we're going to be able to gather to see what can be done to address homelessness. How can we get people out of unsheltered situations into something different? No one has ever had data like this before. And we probably are going to have about 5 more kind of subsets of who these folks are. And we've started a meeting with every social service provider that might have a touch point with at risk or homeless. And we've developed a release of information that clients sign. Thank you, Morgan, for helping us navigate those waters, to where we can actually list by name every person, and every agency can say, well, I'm working with them and here's where we're at. Or I should be working with them to really get people doing integrated services around the homeless issue. The last page that Amber had on here is because we sort of control that data, we're able to give a snapshot for every city in Polk County and every area about what it looks like based on the point in time count that we found that day through our efforts. And it's been pretty powerful for the cities to have this information and kind of know, at least for that one point in time, where their city stands with their homeless population. The last thing I'll say about the data part is, you know, when people come to our resource center, we do an intake with them. And if they indicate that they're at risk of being homeless or they are homeless, we have decided that the intake that we will do from now on is the same questions that we ask in the point in time count. And so our data is consistent now every day of the year of exactly the same types of questions we're asking, and not just in January when we do this event.
So way to think outside the box to get all of this data, and then utilizing all of those entities just to collaborate and come up with the best count you possibly could. So of the count that we have, what percentage of the homeless do you think actually got counted, or what percentage did we miss?
That's been an ongoing question and it's been very tough to answer.
If I sort of took the average of everybody I asked, from folks that say we missed a bunch to the folks that said we did okay, we think our unsheltered homeless count is more around 150 in rural Polk County. It completely, all of this data excludes West Salem. I think it says that in here, but I want to say it out loud too. This is west of Highway 51. So probably more like 150. I mean, I know that because we have a database at the resource center too, where we flag folks that are either homeless or at risk, trying to find everybody just in that one time frame, it's almost impossible. And so we know that there are people that we already have in our database that are experiencing homeless that weren't counted on this day. So probably about 150, Commissioner. Were you in that same, were you higher or lower in your guesses?
No, I would have said 130 maybe, but it's a hard guess to make.
Methodology is interesting. You get very rich information, people. So it's quality information. And the really neat thing that is that you guys got additional information to actually help people navigate into services, et cetera. It's functional. It's not just counting for counting's sake. You mentioned that many folks have ties to the community. What sort of questions did you ask, or what sort of came up in conversations? Indicating that, do you remember?
We asked a specific question. It's on here. It says, do you have previous ties to the town or community that you're currently staying in? Example, you attended school here, have family or friends here, or you previously lived in this community. And it was a yes or no question. And then if they had selected no, it continued on to ask if they remembered the town or community that they were staying in when they became homeless.
And when you look across all rural Polk County, that percentage was 84% of the folks had ties to the community that they were staying in.
They're not coming here for
And
services
there's sort of this misnomer that people are coming here who aren't from here, but when there's no, except for the warming centers that we do, there's no overnight places to stay. There's no food every day. There's no soup kitchen. There's not a lot of services that you see in urban areas. So we have not found that people are just coming to Polk County to sleep outside in the cool and to get an MRE occasionally at the resource center. They're here because this is where they're from. They probably have a parole and probation officer. They probably have a behavioral health therapist and other ties, possible family, possibly kids here. Some of the folks that we talked to were chronically homeless, but also working. They just were living in a car or an RV or a dilapidated trailer, had an eviction or something that is stopping them from being able to get an apartment again.
I'm looking at the numbers in each city, and obviously living in Fall City, I know many of these homeless folks. They're longstanding community members, are part of families that have been there for a while, and there just are no rentals in Fall City, but all of their community ties are in Fall City, and they don't want to leave because it's their home. I'm seeing just unsheltered folks, and as a reminder too, one of the difficulties in counting folks, there was an especially cold night on January 23rd. It was below freezing, so these people navigating life and death conditions. And they weren't in the places that they normally were, probably out of survival.
Mhm.
And so I think that was part of the undercount. But I'm just looking at Independence, 18 unsheltered folks, Monmouth 5, Dallas 31, Falls City 27, disproportionate homeless counts in Falls City, which is unsurprising. 8 in Grand Run, 2 in Willamina. So this data will also inform our strategic planning for our paths group, the House Bill 4123 project that includes all of the cities. And I look forward to those conversations. This is a very myth busting result, right? So people are from the community. There is an issue of homelessness in rural Polk County, even though we're not seeing congregate camps that are popping up. But I wouldn't be surprised if we will if we do nothing. So the time to act is now. And I'm very encouraged by some service providers who are leaning into this, and I think it will inspire some really meaningful collaborations. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the work.
Something that was really cool to come out of the methodology that we used. Falls City is traditionally a very hard to reach community because they are so tight knit. They're not super trusting of people who are not from the area. And we made a connection with somebody at the Polk County Community Connect who was just really excited about the survey we were doing and the services we were offering. And we asked if she knew of anybody who was camping out in Falls City, and she was able to identify a few different camps for us. And then she called them and asked what they needed. So we were able to get items that these camps needed, go out to them. We then developed a relationship with these camps, and a few of them came down to the community center with us, set up a table, and then people started coming and chatting with us. We were able to give items away and conduct that survey. So it's just really neat to be able to holistically develop that relationship through this methodology.
And cultivating that trust will pay dividends for those folks experiencing it and for the agencies trying to reach them past the count. So that's great.
Your community connects 290 people. That's a great turnout. I
Thank you.
never thought you would have ever reached that number.
Especially coming back after COVID and going away for a couple of years.
I just walked around the providers and stuff. You know, Mr. Hanson, I just walked around and just hearing the comments that they were making gives them a chance to make those connections and make a difference. That's the key.
In closing, just wanted to say that last year, Amber helped convene a group of stakeholders. Between 40 and 50 people came to 6 meetings once a month to talk about these issues. We are reconvening that group in April. Information will go out as soon as we have it iced down. But we'll be bringing folks back not only to share this data and the rest of the data that we're collecting, but anything else that might be happening with the PATHS group, the MAC group that's working on how to allocate $14 million to the region to combat homelessness, and to just celebrate. There's been a lot that's been happening on the homeless front with the Edgar Hall shelter that we're working on with the church, and a few other things, community actions program in Monmouth for homeless youth. There's been a lot that's happened in the last 8 months, and definitely more to come. But data is at the heart of it. If you don't know the population you're trying to help, it's going to be harder to help them, and we're learning a lot more about it. I think that's our biggest role.
One of the difficulties of the methodology again is it's a grand feat that you pulled off with the Connect and everything else. Do you think this is something we can do year in and year out?
What was
Assuming Amber stays with us forever?
Well, that would definitely have to happen. It's a low cost to do something like that. The cost is really having somebody like Amber to herd all of the cats, so to speak, to pull it off on the coordination side. But I think we did the whole event for less than 4,000 or 5,000.
It's right around 5,000.
We have unique data on these folks, right? So we could actually do a little bit of longitudinal tracking of how many folks we're able to rehouse, and there will be funds in the governor's emergency order for rehousing folks and for sheltering. Hopefully that some of that programming comes here. What are some of the barriers to rehousing folks right now? I know in some cities the vacancy rates are under 1%.
Well, the key word there that you used, you said rehousing, it would require housing. First of all, that's the biggest problem. Even if there was available rental units, which there just isn't. The hard part is your voucher from West Valley Housing Authority has to include your portion of the rent plus utilities. It has to include both of those things. And the average rent in Dallas Monmouth and Independence is $350 more a month than your voucher pays. And you're not allowed to do a copay. You can't pay the extra part or have your dad pay it for you or even have an agency pay it for you the way it's set up now. Those are barriers. The folks that we're dealing with who are chronically homeless, there is no doubt they have mental health and addiction issues, and probably above 75% of all of them have one or both of those. And that comes with criminal history, that comes with evictions, that comes with bad credit, all the things that make it really hard to find somewhere to live. There has to be more kind of transitional programs that agencies run here and have places to stay that don't have to look at those rules the same way a traditional landlord would.
One of the strategies identified for the rehousing piece is to do sort of a case conferencing model where we do have specific information about the level of acuity and needs of individuals and who might be a good candidate for traditional lease, things like that. So hopefully we can ensure that the folks we do house are as successful as possible, and we find other longer term solutions for other folks. But it's going to be a challenge, and one of the things we're really pushing the governor to consider is an extension, especially of that housing piece. Meeting those goals by January 2024 will be difficult. We do not want to set people up for failure. We do not want to compromise a relationship with landlords, et cetera. So we'll work through that together.
So the information you compile, do you have every individual set so you can track them and see when their contacts are made and follow-ups and to keep track of how often you get to see them? And
This point, for any touch point we have with any of our staff from school-based mental health, the veterans, service integration, resource center, navigators, all those people, we already track all of that. The part that's missing is nobody knows if Commissioner, we're going to call him homeless Jeremy for just a minute. He's been homeless for a year in Polk City. Nobody knows who else or whatever other agency. Is he working with DHS at all? Does he have any applications into a housing authority? Does he have a case manager with Northwest Senior and Disability Services? What is his primary care doctor saying about his health related to being homeless? And many other ones, nobody is looking at it holistically. Like in behavioral health, they have the RAP program, where that's exactly what they do. That would be the model if we can get partners to agree to it, and of course get the client to say be best for them. That's what we're moving to. We've only had one meeting so far with those partners. February was the first time we pulled them together. The concept they love, from West Valley Hospital to Community Action, all of the agencies are like, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to work together. So that's what we're moving toward. And I would love to be able to track whether it's these folks that we're working with or any of the folks that we're working with that have multiple touch points with multiple agencies. It would be great if there was one way that everybody knew what was happening with the client, but it doesn't exist right now.
Thanks for moving towards that and breaking down silos and creating efficiencies in this very murky social service world. It's unique what we do here in Polk County, and I'm really, really thankful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
More heaters. Reconnect.
More heaters. Cool.
Okay. Next up, we have reclass of an employee. Mr. Hawkins, would you like to lead us in that discussion?
Yes, good morning, Mayor, members of the board. I am here to request a reclassification of an employee in health services. This is specifically Colette Edelman. We're requesting right now, Colette is a health services supervisor 1. She's taking on additional team duties, which is the defining factor of what makes a person a health services supervisor 2. So we're requesting that she be reclassified, into the 2 position effective March 1st. The fiscal impact if it were for a 12-month period, including PERS contributions, is approximately $5,000. As you know, health services budget can probably handle that without issue.
I'm good.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. We have a need for an executive session.
No, sir, but I do have an add-on for your consideration. As you are aware, the county has been working with the bond company for the construction project at Buena Vista Park. I believe we are nearing completion to some kind of negotiated resolution to that. Ask the board to delegate to Matt the authority to sign any settlement agreements we have in that regard. It's his project and I want his name on the contract.
I'm good with that.
Need a motion
Just keep us,
by consensus.
By consensus.
I appreciate
Matt,
it.
you're the man.
Been 11 years.
Let's plan a righteous ribbon cutting.
Right.
so on the boat ramp and stuff, do we have a new contract?
Oh, yeah, we have a new contract. We're already up and running. And since we had our pre-con meeting 2 weeks ago now, maybe it's just a week ago, and very pleased with our new contractor.
I know they gotta wait for water reside and stuff. Is there a time frame on that?
He hasn't gotten me a full schedule yet, but their plan is to get started late May, even though the in-water work can't start until June. Unless we get some heavy rains or something, we should be pretty good compared to last year. Last year, June was not a good time. But we'll see. They plan to mobilize in late May so that they can be there ready to go. And they're fully aware that our community needs this done as quickly as possible. So they're planning.
Thank you. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, we are so adjourned at 9:27. Thank you.